just to kind of spin over on another token that was brought to my attention. And again, if the devs for this token hear this, they probably won't be too happy, but who knows? Maybe they want the smoke and they're willing to come on the show and talk it out, and I'm willing to listen to them if there's something to this that I'm missing. But I looked pretty deep into it and came away with some strong concerns. There are some good things, but there are some strong concerns, I think, that should be addressed. And I'm not sure. I know why this became a thing, but I think that what they're doing is just banking on the current rush of things like Titano, things like Libero, things like Ouroboros, etc. These projects, and by and large, they're similar. They're not the same, but they're similar in what they do. And there's kind of this rush, right? They kind of all rush to the same. They don't know how to be innovative or unique, and so they're just going off. It's a Me Too type thing. We can do that too. Yay, we're here too. And many of these have been referred to as forks of Titano. And yes, it's true that I would say the majority of them are true forks of Titano, but not all of them are. This one is definitely a fork of Titano. This one that I'm going to be covering is called Forever Financial Freedom on the Binance Smart Chain. Now, before I go into Forever Financial Freedom on the Binance Smart Chain, that's foreverfinancial.finance, it's important that you understand that I have done extensive coverage. I was one of the first to cover Libero Financial. And I said at the time that it's a high risk asset, but it's doing what they told me. And Titano kind of set the stage for these unrealistic APYs. Then come along projects like SAFUU, run by a car salesman, or at least one that sounds like one. And now the rush is to see how high we can get the APY, because we see unrealistic FOMO buys up front on these projects. So it's clear now that all of these ones that are spinning up these alts, let's call them alts, they're spinning up these alts, and now it's just a rush to the bottom. And I say bottom, even though the APY is skyrocketing, because there's no real fundamental to a lot of these. Of the ones that are out there, Libero is the only one that has some sort of a fundamental built into it that you can see. It's tied into its ecosystem. You can take Thorium, you can take Multiverse Capital, you can take Epic Hero, and you can compound by staking and earn those and others. But you can also stake the Libero itself, or X Libero, which is giving you a promissory, and earn even more, and then earn BUSD. It's got a whole elaborate structure. And on the Libero side, they did the AMA, where they offered the transcript on the site that answered every question anybody could ever have. Of the ones out there, it's the only one that's been able to persist its value because of the way it's built. When SAFUU came out, of course, I got attacked because people are diehard on SAFUU, and we saw that SAFUU started to follow the same pattern I said it was going to, which is unrealistic FOMO buys. The pre-sale was an issue, and then it crapped. And it's somewhat recovering, but you still had a little bit of FOMO selling on the tail end. In comes Forever Financial. I gave you that background because Forever Financial is one of those alts. It's doing the same thing. I would argue that these guys literally took one complaint somebody said was that Libero copy pasted from this over here and all that. These guys copy pasted straight off of Libero. You can tell because the verbiage is identical on certain bullets, and then they just changed the name of it to Forever Financial. This one quotes an APY of 516,451.455% as a staking APY. And the way that they're accomplishing this, of course, is with an even more constrained inventory than SAFUU. This one only has 1 million tokens to it. It's currently available on a pre-sale through Pink Sale. And that's how they're controlling, same like with SAFUU, that's how they're controlling that FOMO pump that's going to happen at the beginning. Now, I'm calling out that this is here because it's going to do the same thing that SAFUU did, but probably worse. Here's what I mean. Because of the constrained inventory, they limit how many tokens you can get in the pre-sale, and the liquidity is locked for up for the pre-sale. Liquidity is locked for a year until after the pool ends. And it doesn't have a high cap. Like if I looked at Crypto Vault, it has a much higher cap on how much is invested in the pre-sale. But when you look at the fundamentals of the site, obvious and clear that these guys are not long-term. They're not in it here serious. They're not here to really earn anything. They're just banking off of the popularity of SAFUU and Libero and Titano and what they're doing. In how it's built, it's doing the exact same thing. They're using Gitbook instead of a real PDF. It doesn't really count as a white paper. A lot of it's copy-paste from Libero, as far as I can tell. There's no KYC. They do have a couple of social media pieces like Twitter, for example, but by and large, they want you to go to Telescam. If I had to gauge, these guys, I guess this is going to be around for a little bit of a while, and then it's going to rug pull at some point in the future. So one of the criticisms I got about the SAFUU coverage is some people who attacked me would then come back later and say, well, I knew it wasn't sustainable. Instead of saying, you know what, you're right, it's not sustainable. I'm a gambler. I'm going to go ahead and gamble in it. And I'd have been fine with it. They decided to attack me, even though I was telling them the truth about the fact that it was not sustainable. I never said don't buy it. I said it's not sustainable. Freedom, this forever financial freedom, it's not sustainable, but for a different reason. Number one, I don't think they're going to be able to market this in any successful way with what I see on the site, foreverfinancial.finance. It looks like garbage. It looks like something a kid could have done a better job with, one. So marketing is going to be a problem. But because of the constrained inventory, when this thing launches, it's going to have the FOMO pump up front. If you're the gambler sort, it may be something you take a look at. But it's a huge risk because of the lack of fundamentals, the fact they're only in Telescam, the fact their white paper is crap, the fact that it's on pre-sale, because remember what I said on SAFUU, you have these constrained inventories, you put them on pre-sale. Those pre-sale folks, they're going to dump that dude at some point after this thing launches. It's up to you whether you decide to go in it or not. I'm bringing it to attention because it's another one of those similar to ones that we've done coverage on. Again, it's not sustainable, obviously, and it's doing a Me Too. And this one feels to me like it has a higher chance of scamming you at some point in the future. Forever Financial Freedom on the Binance Smart Chain. If you want to take a look, if you're one of those gambler sorts, I strongly do not recommend it, at least not till they get more fundamentals. They claim to be audited, but it's a Solidity audit, which is only code. There's no KYC. If they were willing to do like a Desert Finance audit, I might give them the benefit of the doubt. But without that, I don't think this one's going to last too long. I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be able to sustain hardly anything at all.